Welcome to day 3 of two-step equations. Today, we are still working on solving them, but we are solving two-step equations with rational coefficients by earning at least 7 out of 10 points on an exit ticket. Hopefully you grabbed the sheet of notes from the front of the room or from your teacher, and we are ready to begin. Now, our first problem, if you notice, it is very similar to what we did yesterday in class. The biggest difference is there are decimals instead of whole numbers. In this case, we're still using the same steps to solve our problems. Our first step is we need to get rid of our denominator. So we are going to multiply both sides by 4.2. When we do this, on the left side, I still have x minus 3. And on the right side, I multiply 4.5 times 4.2, and I get 18.9. From here, it's still a one-step problem, just like it was yesterday, the day before, and last week. And we need to use our inverse operations to solve that. So from here, I'm subtracting 3. Well, my inverse operations tell me I need to add 3 to both sides. So I'm going to add 3. These cancel out, and I'm left with an answer, x equals 21.9. Our last step, don't forget, because we talked about it yesterday and the day before, we need to plug this back into our original equation to make sure this works. So I have 21.9 minus 3 divided by 4.2, and that should equal 4.5 if my answer is correct. Well, if I do 21.9 minus 3, I end up with 18.9, still divided by 4.2, equals 4.5. If I check that in my calculator, I get 4.5 equals 4.5. Since both numbers are the same, our answer checks and it is correct. So again, just to recap, we're still following the same steps as yesterday, even though we have decimal numbers. If we look at our next example, this is similar to the basic two-step equation problems we did 2 days ago, but again, it has decimals. We're still going to use the same inverse operations. I'm going to start with my line down the middle, and I'm going to start with the number that is not directly next to my variable or considered its coefficient, and that is my adding of 0.5 or 5/10. The opposite or inverse operation of that is subtracting 5/10 from both sides. When we do that, those cancel each other out, and we are left with negative 35/100 times x is equal to 7/10. Be careful when you plug these numbers into your calculator. Make sure your decimal points are in the right spot. We cannot say 12 minus 0.5. It needs to be 1.2. From here, again, we're going to use our inverse operations. Since negative 35/100 is our coefficient, we're going to divide both sides by negative 35/100. When we do, we're left with an answer of x equals negative 2. But I still need to plug it back into my original equation to check my answer. So I have negative 35/100 times negative 2 plus 0.5, and that should give me 1.2. A negative times a negative gives me a positive, and I get 0.7 or 7/10 plus 5/10 is equal to 1 2/10. Well, if I add them together, I get 1 2/10 equals 1 2/10. So my answer is correct. What we would like you to do now is there are 2 practice problems underneath the 2 we just solved. If you need more time to copy these down, pause the video and copy them down. We would like you to work through those two problems. Make sure you show all your work. When you are done, raise your hand and your teacher can check it as well as get you the next part of today's lesson.